Hi, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about how to identify subjects and verbs. Subjects and verbs seem like a pretty simple subject to talk about, like something you might have learned in a younger age, but it's actually really important, even at the college level, to be able to identify subjects and verbs. Um, Subjects and verbs are the building blocks of sentences. They're the core of the sentence, and as a result, um, they're really the central meaning units. And if you choose an effective subject and verb, that will help improve the clarity of your sentence. If you're not very effective at selecting your subject and verb, a lot of times your sentences are going to be unclear, lack focus, imprecise. It also affects whether you're going to commit a couple of common errors, language errors. One common language error is called subject-verb agreement error. Another one is a fragment. We'll be talking about fragments really soon. So it's very important to be able to identify subjects and verbs. I try not to give you too much complicated grammatical language. I try to keep everything simple and direct in this class, but this is one case where we have to look at some of the grammar terms. So let's start. So I'm sure as a kid you learned finding the verb, it's the action word. And indeed, the verb is the action word. So take a look at these sentences. And whenever we have some sentences and you want to try to get the right answer before you get my answer, I'll show you my answers in a minute, but I want you to pause the video, think about your answers, and then check your answers with me. So go ahead, read the sentences, find the action words, and pause the video. So yeah, I'm guessing most of you got the right answer. Ran, watched, ate, thought, and decided. So notice a couple things. The actions can be mental actions, considered, wondered. These are verbs or action words that are, mental actions. Also notice you can have more than one verb in the sentence. But having said that verbs are action words, that's not enough because there are non-action verbs as well. First group are just straight up, they're verbs, but there's no action. The verb to be, is, am, are, was, were, I am happy. There's no action going on there. It's describing a state of being. So those are called linking verbs, and it's just basically telling you who exactly is happy. It's really, some languages, they don't even have it. They just say, I happy, and that's makes perfect sense to me. But anyway, we have the verb to be there. Other verbs like feel, seem, appear, there's a long list of non-action verbs. There's also something called a helping verb. A helping verb goes with a main verb. So if I have be plus the verb ing, I am sleeping, am and sleeping together make the complete verb, am sleeping. So am is the helping verb, sleeping is the main verb. You also have do as another helping verb. I do not work. Do and work together make the complete verb. Have is another helping verb. I have seen the movie. Have and seen together make the complete verb. You also have something called modal verbs. Modal verbs are verbs like can, should, will, and again, those go with a main verb. I can eat. Can and eat together make the main verb. So take a minute to pause the video and identify the helping verb and main verbs in the following sentences. So yeah, there's your non-action verb, your linking verb. Number 2, was sleeping. Should have been doing. There's a long string of helping verbs and a main verb. Has been living. Felt and had eaten. So those are your non-action verbs. In your Canvas site, on the Canvas lesson, near the bottom, I've got a list of helping verbs and modal verbs. Another thing to watch out for is false verbs. So if you have the verb ing with a helping verb, that's complete, that's a verb. But if it's the verb ing without the helping verb, so if I just say running, that's not a verb, okay? If I say I am running is a complete verb. So the verb ing by itself is not a verb, it's a false verb. To plus the verb, it's called the infinitive, and that also is not a complete verb. Not a real verb, not an actual verb. So take a look at these sentences, try to find the true verbs, and don't get fooled by the false verbs. So number one, appeared is the verb. To need is a false verb. Swimming is a false verb. That one's going to fool a lot of people there. Is the verb. Sleeping is a false verb, but looked and needed are the real verbs. Biking and running are false verbs in number four. Is the linking verb. That's the non-action verb. And then number five, need is the verb. To fix, to drive, those are false verbs. All right, so that's verbs. Verbs are a little trickier to find, but once you get dialed in on verbs, subjects are, I think, very easy. To identify the subject is very simple. You just ask who or what plus the verb plus the rest of the sentence. Ask that as a question. So, for example, I've got ran 5 miles. There's the rest of my sentence, verb and everything to the right. So ran and everything to the right of it. And I ask who or what. Who ran 5 miles? Oh, the answer is Marissa. So Marissa is the subject, okay? Or it could be a what also, not in this case, but take a couple minutes here to pause the video and identify the subjects in these sentences. All right, so we've got Marissa, I, so who watched, who ate, I. Who woke up, Van. Who called, his boss. So there you've got two different subjects. Again, just like you can have two verbs, you can or more, you can have two or more subjects in a sentence. Who appeared, Marty. What is great exercise, swimming. What looked like it needed nothing, the baby. Now it is also the subject there. It's the same thing as the baby, but same thing. What is easier than running 5 miles? Biking 5 miles. Now you could say it's the whole thing. You could say it's the whole thing, biking 5 miles. But the key word is it's the biking that's the easier than the running. So biking is going to be your essential subject. Who need to fix your car? You do. All right. Okay. Now it gets a little more complicated when we consider one other issue that can mess us up when we're identifying subjects. And that's tricky subjects can occur when we deal with something called a prepositional phrase. This is another grammatical term I have to introduce. You have a list of prepositions in your Canvas page, so hopefully you'll refer to those. But a prepositional phrase cannot be the subject of a sentence. So what is a prepositional phrase? It's a preposition plus a noun and maybe some other words that go with it. It's a group of words leading with a preposition. So what the heck's a preposition? It's one of these little words, in, on, at, to, with, by, for. I mean, the list goes on. It's a huge, long list, but it's mainly those little words that tell you where something is, maybe when, maybe how, those kinds of things. Again, you can refer to the list of prepositions in your Canvas sheet, but take a look at this sentence. And we're going to go through the process of finding the verb, finding the subject, and what we can do is we can eliminate prepositional phrase, just cross them out, and then that's not going to be an issue. So to start with, let's find the verb. Take a second to pause the video, find the verb. So was hit. There's your helping verb and main verb, was and hit. Now, let's try to find prepositional phrases in here. So anything beginning with those little words, they're phrases. So they're groups of words that go with those little words that tell you when, where, how, that kind of thing. So here are the prepositional phrases. On a bike, at a busy intersection, of a crowded city, by a car. Those are all prepositional phrases. So let's Let's cross those out and let's ask our question then. So we get rid of on a bike at a busy intersection. We just say, who was hit by a car? Well, we'd say the boy. The boy was hit by a car. In this case, it's pretty clear, even without crossing those prepositional phrases. Some people might think the bike was hit, but certainly the city wasn't hit by a car and the intersection wasn't hit by a car. That would make no sense. So this can be a little tricky, and a lot of times students often get confused with these prepositional phrases. So the important thing is to practice with this. So again, in your Canvas website, you've got some exercises with the answers. Do the exercises, check your answers. When you do the exercises, follow these principles. Don't just start stabbing in the dark for subjects and verbs. Follow the methodology I'm teaching you, and you'll find them pretty accurately. First, find the verb. Avoid those false verbs. Notice multiple verbs, helping verbs, non-action verbs. Notice all those. Second, once you've done that, find the subject. Ask who or what, plus the verb, plus the rest of the sentence, everything to the right of it, okay? Then, if you're still confused, you're not sure, try crossing out those prepositional phrases. That'll really help you with that. Finding the subject and verb is really important. It is a crucial way of communicating more clearly, precisely, making sure your sentences are complete. And we're going to be using it several times in the semester. So you may want to come back to this lesson if you ever forget it, but it's really important to go through the process, and it will lead to some success in your writing. All right, that's all. Take care.